Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Money Matters, because after all, money does matter. Now, tenant eviction bans, nightmare tenants, tenants from hell. I want to talk to you this week about real life, real stories of managing tenants through lockdown. And I want to do that, not in some theoretical sense by giving you a load of charts and data. I actually want to talk to one of our wonderful Touchstone family members. He's actually in the mentorship program. He's called Sion, and he's from South Wales. So what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to simply play a recording of me talking to Sion, because unfortunately we still physically can't meet, but I'm sure hopefully we can soon. But here is Sion, real life story, redundant, and it's all my fault. How did he manage tenants through lockdown? Hello Sion, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for joining me today on this week's edition of Money Matters. I don't know if you agree with me. I think money matters.
It definitely does.
Absolutely. So, Sion, I've had the pleasure of knowing you for a while now, and you're one of our wonderful masterminders. For anyone that doesn't know Sion from lovely Wales, when did you actually get started in property? What was the first kind of property deal that you did?
First property deal I did was actually back in 2012. I was in university back in 2007, 2008, and I met a guy who was into property, had a few properties, and I was basically helping him out on his refurbs, doing bathroom fitting, kitchen fitting, and thought I'd really like to get involved with this. So I wanted to get my first property, so I saved up my student loan. I worked behind the bar as well. So basically I just saved up all my money. As soon as I come out of university, I went and bought my first buy-to-let straight away. Bought it for 42k. Spent £12,000 on it, and then got it revalued then at 75,000. So
happy days.
Without being educated, it was just, at the time I didn't even know that was called BRR. So it was that's just something I did, and it all started from there.
Perfect. I mean, what you've just displayed there is, number one, great action, well done you. But you've just demonstrated, I think, to everybody the power of your network. Because if you hadn't met that bloke at uni that was into it, you then got involved practically. If I heard you right, you were physically working on some of his projects. That's where you got the idea, isn't it? So your network is your net worth.
Most definitely.
Buying a property for 42 grand in 2012, I think you said. You can't do that in the whole country. But am I right in thinking you're in South Wales?
South Wales, yeah.
So if you're looking to do that kind of project today, where you are, what kind of money could you pick up a property for now that needed a good old refurb?
We're probably looking now at around between the 60 to 100k mark. Wow. Property prices are rapidly growing. So I've been looking for properties lately, and at the moment we're struggling to try and find anything below 100k at the moment. You're finding obviously a lot of refurb properties below 100k, but majority of them are all being revalued or selling on open market above 100k. So it just shows property prices are going in the right direction, going up. So if you've got money, you need to be buying property now, because it's just going to get more and more expensive as the time goes on.
I've been saying that for 38 years, Sion, because I'm just a little bit older than you, and I bought my first property in 1982. So I bought my first property, what on earth is that? That's 30 years before you bought your first one. I've seen over my property investment lifetime, on average, 7% compound property value increase. You've been investing long enough now, it's kind of almost a decade, isn't it? That you've seen that, you've seen what's happened to property prices in your area. Same thing's happened here in Doncaster. It's just, there's only one way property's going. There's a shortage of supply, the population's growing faster than the housing stock, so there's less and less houses for more and more people. It's just basic economics, isn't it?
Exactly. We're only a small island, so there's only so many houses you can fit.
Indeed. I'm going to put you on the spot now. What is your favourite property strategy?
It probably is the BRR, to be honest. I do like to recycle my money, and enables me to just keep growing a portfolio.
Sweet. And when you've finished the buy, refurbish, remortgage, ask you a sort of complimentary question. What's your favourite strategy to do with it? Because you could just do regular buy-to-let. Do you do anything else?
I would like to put it to SA, but service accommodation. But we had a few restrictions on the property, covenants with the property and the area it's in, so we weren't actually able to put it to service accommodation. But if everything allowed us to, we would have put it to SA. Yeah. So that's definitely a very lucrative strategy, because obviously you've got the capital allowances to go with that, and obviously you can maximise the amount of return you can get back on that property.
Yeah, indeed. You do have other service accommodation properties, don't you?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we based down in Cardiff, in South Wales. We got a few rent-to-rent SAs there. We also have a few rent-to-rent HMOs in that area as well. So we've got a bit of a mix in the portfolio. What
would you say are, for anyone that, most people that watch this, Sean, as you know, they won't be property investors. So most people watching this will want to be a property investor, but they're not. So I want to use this opportunity to give them a really balanced view of being a landlord. What would you say are the rewards of being a landlord?
Well, the rewards are, one, you're obviously giving a home to a tenant. There's a shortage of supply, so it's nice that you actually can house a family. There's a lot of families out there that are in like one-bed flats, that are struggling. They're getting more and more children, so it's nice to actually move them out of flats into nice 2-bed, 3-bed houses. And this, sorry to interrupt, Sean, but this causes me almost literally physical pain. In the 6th richest country in the world, the UK, we've got more than 300,000 people that don't have a permanent home. So these are all the poor people that have to shuffle between bed and breakfast. They get booted out at 10 o'clock in the morning. They literally walk around the streets with it. And the saddest part is there's 100,000 of those that are children. And can you even imagine what it's like being brought up as a child with no permanent home? It's just incredible. The other thing you said just resonates so strongly with me. A friend of mine, Tom, is an electrician, and he lives in West London. And even on an electrician's salary, the only thing he can afford is a 1-bedroom flat to rent. He's got 2 kids. He's trying to bring up, him and his missus and 2 children in a 1-bedroom flat. And I think he pays £1,400-1,500 a month rent for a 1-bedroom flat that you literally couldn't swing a cat. So I'm 100% with you, and I'm so pleased you said that first, because landlords in the press get a pretty bad rep, don't they? We do indeed.
Greedy, grabbing landlord or whatever. I think it's fantastic that people like you are saying the number one reason why I do this is so I can help people out that need helping out. And so, respect. That's fantastic. What other rewards would you say on top of that, Sean?
The other rewards, obviously, we do like to make money from it as well. You do you get a property that goes up in time. You get capital appreciation. Yep. And you get good cash flow coming in, which allows you to buy more properties going forward, and then you can house more tenants. So we've taken on quite a few, like I said, HMOs lately, and obviously with the current climate of COVID, there's a lot of people now on universal credit, and I've been, have the privilege, to be honest, of actually helping people who, have been struggling, that have lost their jobs, or they've just started a new job, but they haven't got the bond or deposit to put down. So it's nice to actually work with housing associations and working with the council to actually, accept these people into our properties. Obviously we do all the checks on them to make sure it's affordable, but it's just rewarding knowing that you've put like a roof over someone's head. We've had a tenant come to us who was a website designer, and he designed websites for high-end clients, including professional football clubs. And he lost his job. He was sofa surfing, nowhere to go, didn't have any money to put down for a deposit or first month's rent, but could actually make money through his self-employment business. And it was really satisfying that we managed to actually put him in one of our HMO rooms. And he's been doing really well since then. Rent's always been paid on time. He's a really nice guy, and it's just rewarding that he couldn't, rewarding for us to actually put that person into one of our properties where he was just struggling to go anywhere else. So
it's
that's the rewarding side.
It's fantastic to hear you talk like that, and it's a privilege to know people like yourself, Sion, because there's not a lot of people in the world like you, and a lot of people want to get into property just for the money. And I see those sort of people, they quite often come to grief because they don't build the relationship with their tenants. And it sounds like you've got quite a personal relationship with your tenants. Would that be fair?
Yeah, definitely. We've when the property I bought in 2012, that's I still got that in my portfolio. Yeah. And the lady there, fantastic tenant. She's been really, really great. Unfortunately, last year she got hit with COVID. Oh. And basically she has been really ill. She caught it, one of the worst sort of cases with it. Mm. She couldn't get into hospitals or anything like that to be treated. So she was at home for most of it. Yeah. Obviously fell really ill, managed to eventually get over it. But because she was off work for so long, she lost her job from it, and she was struggling to pay her rent. So she came to me with that, and she basically said, I'm really struggling. She was borrowing money off friends to pay it, and she's always paid on time. We had good relationships. Any problems, we always repaired the house, or any damages that need fixing. And I just said to her, that's fine, if you can't pay, leave it for now and see what we can do. And she tried to commit suicide. I had a message off her just before Christmas with a photo of her in hospital, apologising, to say, sorry, Sion, I really, really can't do this anymore. It's got to this point. I tried to take my own life because I couldn't pay the rent. And that really hits home to myself. Yeah. She's such a nice lady, and things like this really get under people's skin. And basically I told her, we'll work a payment plan out. Don't worry about paying the rent for now. We'll sort everything out going forward. I even went to the food bank and bought her some food from there, so enough for her to make a Christmas meal over the Christmas period. And basically she started to get back on her feet. She started to pay the rent. She started to pay off her rent arrears now. And it's just nice to actually have that relationship with a tenant and know what type of tenants you have in your properties. There's obviously always a bad thing with tenants and landlords. Landlords getting the stick of not looking after properties, and then tenants trashing the properties. But I think if you really look after your tenants and you look after the house, I think it can be a really good strategy, really, of being a landlord.
Yeah, I mean, God bless you for what you're doing there. I mean, that's just fabulous. I mean, the percentage of landlords that would actually go to that trouble and understand people. But I believe, exactly like you believe, if you look after people, if you give them the respect that they deserve, they'll give you the respect that you deserve. And that's just basic human nature, isn't it? You try and abuse someone or rip them off or put them in a crappy house that needs all sort of and you don't do the maintenance or whatever it is. And people, it's the real world, isn't it? People have problems. So I hear, landlords talking about the fact that they've got all sorts of rent arrears and tenant eviction bans, and they give all the downsides of being a landlord. But it doesn't have to be like that, does it? And you've been sensible enough to get yourself the education that you're not only reliant on single lets, you've got HMOs, house occupation, about service accommodation, about buy, refurbish, remortgage. We're only scratching the surface, really, of your knowledge. You know about the structure that you should put them into, about the tax breaks, about everything like that. If someone watching this wanted to get involved with, someone like yourself, Sion, one of your compatriots told me this years ago now. He's quite a famous Welshman. He said, there's three sorts of people in this world, Paul. I said, what are you talking about? And he said, well, there's actual Welsh people, there's people that want to be Welsh, and there's people with no ambition. And I just rolled around laughing for about 20 minutes. So if someone's attracted by your business ethics, or they want to work with you, or they want to maybe, I don't know, invest some money with you for a return, get involved in this sort of social housing, what's the best way for them to contact you, Sean?
I'm online, on either Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Right. You can find me at Sion O'boyle. You can visit my website, which is www.spoproperties.co.uk.
Okay. You've taught me a little bit of Welshness, because I know how to spell Sean in Welsh. It's Sion, isn't it?
It is indeed.
Many different spellings across many different countries. But if you're looking for this young man, it's Sion, Sion O'boyle. But we'll put all the contact details under the video, Sean, so people can find you. The whole kind of theme and essence of this interview was really sparked by kind of nightmare tenants, tenants from hell, all that kind of stuff. Because you see a lot, in the same way that landlords get smashed in the press, nightmare tenants get smashed in the press, don't they? Because it's like bad news, horror stories, sells newspapers. So, I mean, what kind of thoughts, what advice would you have, Sean, if people are not they're terrified about investing in property because they're terrified about nightmare tenants? What can they do about that?
I think you just need the right team around you, the right people. There's obviously always there's letting agents out there that have rigorous checks for those tenants. They make sure that that tenant can be affordable for that property, and obviously do background checks. It's not just getting one tenant reference; it's getting the previous to that landlord reference as well. So there's a lot of checks you can do to make sure. And it's all just about the connections. Having that personality and really understanding people's thoughts, processes. Just understanding tenants as a whole thing. But you can easily get educated in that field. There's plenty of people around you that can offer advice. So as you say, your network is your net worth. So surround yourself with like-minded individuals, and you have all the advice and help you need.
Perfect. And of course you can get rent insurance if people don't pay the rent, and you can get guarantors, or you can do your company logo behind you, service accommodation, people chilling out. Well, you don't have any tenants, do you? You've got guests, so they don't have all the tenants' rights. Or you can do commercial property or whatever. But I'm fascinated by this. You decided to get some education and get on the mentorship program with Touchstone, but you'd already been investing for 7 or 8 years before you decided to get. What made you, as an experienced property investor, why did you decide to invest money in joining our mentorship program?
Well, from the start, I've always been interested in property, and I started off with that first one, and then obviously went on to get another one, and went on to get another one. But for me, it just seemed so slow, and I was always interested how all these landlords are getting hundreds of properties, and I just thought I've got to be doing something wrong. I need to get educated properly in this. So I started having a look around to see how people were doing it, and I never even knew there was education around property. I never knew there was all these courses that you could go on and see. So basically, I wanted to grow my portfolio, and I wanted to do it as a professional business. So I just started reaching out to people, and obviously found yourself online, and attended what was then the six-figure summit, which I know is the Wealth Through Property now.
That's right, yeah.
And it just started the journey from there.
Yeah, well done you. And you invested some money on that. I mean, looking back with hindsight, do you think it was a good investment or a bad investment?
Yeah, it's always good investment. It's all education. It helps open the ideas of what's possible in property. I never knew there was service accommodation. I never knew about like the HMOs or anything like that. So once I got actually educated and my eyes opened to the world, it was definitely worth it.
Yeah, perfect. So we're almost at the very end here, and I just want to ask you a few closing questions. Am I correct in thinking you're now full-time in property?
I am indeed, yeah.
And when did that happen?
January last year, I went full-time.
Okay. So is that yet another one that I've made redundant? Is it my fault that you sacked the boss and you quit the day job?
It is 100% your fault, yeah.
I love getting people made redundant in that sense, or sack the boss or whatever. I think that's fantastic. But I also, I want to put this isn't, I'm not talking to you, Sean, I'm talking to everybody that's watching this. Please, please, please don't sack the boss or stick up your middle finger or whatever until you're making good money in property, because it's really handy to have a job to get those first few mortgages or whatever. So I always say, make sure you're doubling your income from property before you sack the boss. Okay, so that's just general advice, because I know there's a lot of people watching this. But I really want to leave you, Sean, with the last word on this. If people are watching this and they're thinking, oh, actually, Sean's making a lot of sense there, and you actually don't need a lot of money to get started in property, because you mentioned rent to rent, HMO, service accommodation, that sort of stuff. What advice would you give to people to take, they've watched this video with you and me chatting away, and they want to take the first step to become a property investor? What would you advise them to do, Sean?
I just advise them first to get educated first. You can start by, researching on YouTube. There's plenty of YouTube videos to have a look. Like your channel, it's
like this one, yes.
It's filled with plenty of content on there, so if you're struggling with money, there's lots of free content to get out there to learn about property and how to get involved. And then obviously if you have got money, then you can look to, moving on to like a mentorship program, which I highly recommend, jumping on a mentorship program, to actually push yourself forward. You can do it alone, but it probably take you a long time and slow, just like myself. But once you get mentored by someone, you can accelerate your property journey very quickly.
Well, perfect. And on behalf of all the viewers from this YouTube channel, and I just want to say thank you for your time, and thank you for being such an inspiration, Sean, and thanks for being such a valued member of the Touchstone family. And what you're doing for your tenants, I just think is unbelievable. And if you're watching this and you want to reach out to Sean, well, just see his contact details below. And thank you, Sean, and I'll catch up with you soon. See you soon.
Lovely. Thanks so much. Cheers, Paul.
I've had similar situations. I actually lost a tenant. He did commit suicide, but no one knew. He didn't say anything. He always paid his rent on time. He was on benefits as well. We always used to swap cards at Christmas, and I'd go around and see him, and he always paid his rent a week early, never missed. He tidied up his flat, even cleaned the fridge and everything, sent me a note saying sorry, and that was it.
Crazy. It is mad. It's such, over this last year, and the amount of tenants I've been through, of just like, obviously with the HMOs, I got 28 tenants now, and it's like, not all of them are the same, and they got like mental health issues, struggling, being locked indoors now. They were fine before, but obviously being left in a property, and couldn't go out anywhere. It's surprising how it builds up mentally on people, and they get frustrated with the people they live with. And it's just, this COVID has definitely made it challenging with people's mental health.
It's all right for people like me with an 8-bedroom house in Scotland with an acre of ground looking out onto the sea. You're not going to go. Getting locked up there is a bit different from getting locked up in an HMO room, isn't it? Anyway.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I've got to say, we've included some outtakes in that where we thought we'd finished, and I was just chatting to Sean at the end, because what he's doing, it really did touch me on a human level. And I don't know about you, but I think money genuinely does matter so that we can help people less fortunate than ourselves. Sean, he's got 28 tenants now, 28 HMO tenants, 28 HMO rooms, as well as his single lets and his service accommodation and everything else. He's helping 28 people to have a roof over their heads. And he's got the level of empathy that hardly any landlords have. And I was so proud when he said, I said, what's the benefits of being a landlord? He said, oh, money, capital growth, tax breaks. He said, putting a roof over somebody's head. He's an amazing young man. It isn't about the money. It's about the choices that money enables. You've been wonderful. I've been Paul. See you next time.